Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Happy homecoming 2024, Southern University alum. Well, our guest menu looks like this. Coach Farasi Norman, he'll join us in hour number 2. Of course, the panel will join us very, very shortly. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Southern University hosts Alcorn State. What's at stake? What's at stake? First place in the West. Also, the NCAA disbands a national letter of intent. I want to particularly get A.D. Wheeler Brown's perspective on that and Coach Pettaway. That's what's trending. Let's introduce the panel. We'll bring them right in and we'll get started. One by one, they come in. Here we go. Charles Edmond, good morning to you. Wheeler Brown, good
morning.
afternoon. Yeah.
Afternoon.
Southern University and Alcorn State for the West, FAMU and Jackson State. Showdown Saturday in the SWAC. Tell you about last week. Wow. I think of the words resilient, another slow start, Southern University and Texas Southern in Houston. Oh, boy. Once again, the cardiac kids, we can use that perspective. They came back, and in overtime, in fashion, they get the victory over Texas Southern University. And Charles, you had a funny story. You said you had finished your broadcast for Alcorn State. You had went in the grocery store, and Southern was down and down. And then you came back out. Southern had taken the lead and had won the football game. Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable in the grocery store. Unbelievable that grocery bill that I had too, as well. So that was unbelievable chain of events. The grocery bill was sticker shock, and then shock to turn on. You pull up my phone and hear that Southern University looked like they were down and out. 30 seconds left. A shank kick. You get the football. Touchdown, overtime. TSU misses a field goal in overtime. Southern walks off. I mean, all that while I was in the grocery store. So yeah, it was a wild finish, to say the least. But look, that's Southern University, Carlos. That's Southern University in the fourth quarter. You have chronicled this all year. They get off to slow, ugly starts, but they clamp down, they slow you down, they lock you down in the fourth quarter. They keep themselves in position to win the football game in overtime. The last 2 conference wins, Texas Southern and Prairie View, have been just that. So, hey, it's not necessarily how you start. I'm sure as a coach, you want to start fast, but as long as you come at this point in the season with a month left, as long as you got one more point than the opposition, no matter how ugly it may be. And one of our colleagues, Carlos, referred to SWAC West football as bad football. Well, you know what? At this point in the season, I don't think anybody cares. And at this point, it's bad college football all over the country. You watch these games, it's ugly all the way around. LSU, Ole Miss, you go up and down the line. It's bad football, it's ugly football, but at this point, you just want to win some games and keep yourself in contention. That's what Southern did. Our game was ugly until the end. It was an ugly-looking field goal that Keani made to walk off against Grambling, but we'll take it. We're in contention. Southern's in contention, no matter how you might want to define it. So here we go. I mean, I think it's going to be this way the rest of the season.
Boy, Will, I tell you how the standards have just come down. Maybe I've been off this planet for a while. I like winning. I like that Southern is 2-0 in conference play. Could have very well been 0-2, but a win is win. A win is a win. Resilient. They have been. A slow start. Yes, that's fact. and also opinion, but it's more so facts, right?
Carlos, once you get to mid-year, you throw pretty out the window. Pretty's gone. You're not worrying about winning pretty and how it looks and all that sort of thing. Only two things matter is W and L, period. End of story. And as long as they're winning, no complaints. No complaints. Complaints will really start if they lost those last two. You talking about heads getting ready to roll and all that sort of thing. Let those scores have been the other way around as opposed to being in Southern's favor. What would they be saying about Coach Graves about now?
Well, you
So
you gotta have thick skin regardless,
ain't no
and
doubt. There's
and I'm
no
not
doubt.
I'm not gonna go down the trail because whatever I tell you, you're gonna be like, well, wait a minute. They're what? Three. They're 2-0 in conference play. That's a fact.
Yeah,
And I did say, hey, they're resilient, and yeah, I'll take
that's
the
it.
win.
That's it.
But if you open that thing up and look at the scope of it, very fortunate to say the least. Very fortunate to be where you're at. But the goals are still ahead of
Mm-hmm.
you. You can still meet those benchmarks. And for Southern University, for this Saturday and going forward, it just would be nice to get off to a hey, what was that? A fast start. You know, not waiting to have to come back in the fourth quarter. It could start today. I would like to see it start today. Get off to a fast start. But back to Texas Southern University, 22-19. The Jaguars win in overtime to go 2-0 in the Western Division. I won't hit you with a whole lot of stats, but Noah Bolton, 13 of 32 for 181 yards. If I'm not mistaken, that math says that's less than 50%. Xavier T-Set came into the ball game, coming back off of a high ankle sprain, threw two passes. One was intercepted, pick six. If we look at Kendrick Rhymes, 55 yards on 10. C.J. Russell, 10 carries, 55 yards. Kobe Dillon had 53 yards rushing. So when I look at the total offensive plays, offensive yards, all that good stuff, Southern in the running game did better. They also made a couple of adjustments in the offensive line, added some new starters. They were able to get it done. Net yards rushing for Southern, 167 yards. Passing, 187. Total offense, 354. 75 plays. That's a lot of plays to run from the yard of scrimmage. They average 4.7 yards per play. Now, if you switch it over, here's where this Jaguar football team, minus a game or two, they've been pretty solid defensively. They only gave up 149 yards rushing to TSU, net passing 90, total defensive plays and yards. They gave up 63. They held TSU to 239 yards of total offense and under 100 yards passing. So if we kind of look back at this whole season and put it in perspective, Southern's defense has been pretty solid. Looking at some of the statistics, number 2 overall in total defense, up near the top in passing defense. Offensively is where they have had their struggles. Charles, Wheeler, and I see now joined by Coach Pettaway. When we talked at SWAC Football Media Day, and we talked on this show, we said defense would have to carry the load for a lot of the teams this season. Don't you think you've seen that up to this point? A couple of teams explosive offensively. For the main part, a lot of teams were bringing in new quarterbacks. So that's where we're at. That's just my opinion.
You're at mid-season now, pretty much. It's time to flip the script. If your offense hasn't caught up by now, chances are it's probably not going to catch up. And you as the head coach need to be looking and trying to find what those answers are in terms of why they haven't caught up, why the production isn't what you guys would think that it should be at this time of the year. So while you're not trying to win pretty, and that's not what I'm saying, consistency is the order of the day, no doubt about it. And you gotta find some balance there. Gotta find a way to even that script a little bit.
Charles Wheeler said a couple of words that I love: balance and consistency. And that is the challenge for this Southern University football team offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think Southern University, and I think you all have gone through a couple of quarterbacks and just trying to find that guy, whether it's T-Set, whether it's Bowden, whatever the case may be. For us, clearly our defense is carrying us right now. Our defense and our running game. We prior to the Grambling game, we had 999 yards rushing the previous 4 games before Grambling. And we were very pedestrian running the football against Grambling. We had the 163-yard run by Jacorian Sewell, but other than that, and other than the 10-yard run that our quarterback Vaughn had to set up the game-winning field goal, we just could not run the football. So I think that's going to be the story. We've got to be able to push the ball down the field a little bit. And Cedric Thomas has said it all year. When teams stack the box, and I think Southern's going to try to do that, there's going to probably be, as we talked about, a spy on Vaughn, who's had 2 100-yard rushing games this season. So Southern's going to count for him. So we got to figure out a way to push the ball down the field and make them pay for stacking the box. So that I think that's going to be an important aspect of this. Defensively, I think Southern's been strong. We have kind of figured out some things here the last several games. Cedric Thomas has been a lot more involved on the defensive side. First-year DC Deion Roberson, who was on the staff last year, young DC, trying to figure things out. I think they got that thing settled down. But I think for us, in finding the right equation in terms of running the football and not force Xavier Vaughn to make some tough throws, which have been tough this season. So we'll see how that translates. But defensively, Southern and Alcorn, stout. And I think, could we have a high-scoring game, or could we have what we both saw last week, 17-15, 22-19? It could be more, could be less, could be a low-scoring slobber knockle. So we'll see how that works out.
Back, and I agree with that. Back to the Texas Southern and Southern football game, and kind of set it up toward the end. A lot of people said if they were coaching Texas Southern, they would have taken the safety and then kicked the ball off and forced Southern to drive the length of the field, 70, 80 yards. What happened was they lined up for the punt, and the punter basically missed 90% of the football when he punted. 10% he shanked it, and it hit the back of a Southern player. So Southern gets the ball right there in position. First play, they throw a pass, a kind of a back shoulder fade pass to Q Davis. They score, hit the extra point, and the game is tied. And then in overtime, Southern's defense rose to the occasion, forced Texas Southern for a field goal that they missed. And then Southern ran a couple of plays. Joshua Griffin, who, by the way, should have been special teams player of the week. I don't know why that didn't happen. Oh, I know why. We don't have a vote in that, Charles. Voters and SIDs, right? Okay. But he nails the field goal, and Southern University comes away with the victory. So, what do you think about that? Let's see if we can connect with Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody?
All righty. Looking dapper in that maroon and white there.
Well, yeah, WJAB got to represent the home station. The big deal with Alabama A&M is what you all have been talking about. Inconsistency at the quarterback position, but now I think we have one in Xavier Langford. he's been the guy that has gone all the way in the last football game. I think Coach is going to hang his hat on Xavier for the rest of the season. He's put together some 2 back-to-back good games, and I think we finally found us a quarterback. And he's a dual threat. He can spin it, and he can also use his legs. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season because right now, if my predictions are going to hold true, they cannot lose another football game because I predict they were going to be 8-3.
Yeah. Well, Coach, it's a lot of pressure for that prediction. But, a lot of times everyone, second guess, sometimes rightfully so, coaching situations. With that being said, last week, should Coach Disband for Texas Southern, should he have taken the safety and then kicked it off and force Southern to go the lift of the field to score a touchdown or to get into overtime and win the game?
Yeah.
Charles, you said yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you take the safety, then there's an option of either a free kick or you can kick off a tee. So with that, there's no pressure. You could just step into it and kick it. And so depending on the kick, Southern could be pinned back. But that situation with pressure, bodies all around, you shank it. That's exactly what happened. And it was just an unfortunate situation. I do think you take the safety, let the free kick commence however way they want to kick it. Mm-hmm. And then you make Southern drive the ball down the field, which had been a struggle, from what I was seeing throughout the course of the game. So, I think it's a teachable moment for Coach Disband. I think if he does it all over again, he takes the safety, free kick it, and make the opposition drive down the field.
If my special teams has been shaky all year, then I would probably subscribe to that theory. But it's hard for me from a coaching point of view to just give you points and just put those points up on the board. I don't know. But if, I've gotten some kicks blocked or, we haven't done a good job in terms of, all aspects of that particular facet of the game, then I would consider giving up the safety. Other than that, I don't know. Like you said, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. We can always say what if after the fact. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because what are the chances of that the punter shanking it?
Especially if he's a good punter.
Yeah.
If he's been consistent all year, if my blocking has been consistent all year, my coverage has been consistent pretty much all year, then I'm not going to take that gamble in terms of getting up a safety. But if the blocking's been shaky, if the punter's been shanking, every so often, that sort of thing, then, I got to flip a coin on that one. And I might have to go ahead and give up the safety, considering all those avenues.
Coach Pettaway, that's why they make the big bucks. To make those decisions, you make them and you live with them. And if he doesn't shank that punt, who knows what will happen? But he did. And so I know Texas Southern fans kind of feel horrible because the last 3 years, it's been very competitive games. The year before, Josh Griffin hits a 54-yarder to send it into overtime in Texas, and Southern wins the football game. And then the previous couple of years in the showdown, Texas Showdown, hey, Texas Southern, they took care of business.
Yeah, but that's the big thing that everybody's looking for. Coaches making the right decisions at this time of the year. And, that's everybody's looking for that. All the fans are looking for that. And, of course, we criticize and we analyze everything that they do. So they have to be on point, but that's why they make the big bucks.
Yeah, they do. Sounds like Coach Pettaway's inside watching some basketball there in Alabama and them.
Yeah, but at the break, I'm gonna move because this is not working out. They put me in a spot where I'm picking up all the crowd noise. So at the break, I'm gonna move.
Okay. No,
I mean,
no
Texas
problem.
Southern, Carlos, Texas Southern got to be somewhat satisfied, outside of the obvious disappointment, because it appears that the last few years they kind of catching up with you guys. That's supposed to be the class over there on that side of the street. So they got to feel pretty good about the direction of their program overall, that they're even in those kind of games. Yeah, I can remember a time when, they were pretty much the scourge of the league, pretty much. But, I mean, it seems like they're catching up, if not in the process of catching up and playing some competitive ball. So what does that say? Does that say that they're getting better, or does that say that Southern is not up to the Southern standards of old?
Wheeler Brown, that's a harsh word you just used. What was that? You said they were the what? The scourge. What is that? Is that the bottom of the
I had to go deep and get that one. Charles.
Well, they've had some lean times, but
yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Brighter days are ahead. That's what they're looking for. And they've been very competitive against Southern University. So
I think it's mission accomplished, Carlos. I think, they got some big games coming. They come to Alcorn. And so I think, we talked about Coach Dishman and all the stuff surrounding that hire. You beat Prairie View, you kind of let the Southern game slip. So they've been competitive. And so I think if they continue to be competitive, I think Dr. Granger and that administration will feel good about year one.
And that's the bottom line. You just want to see improvement. Every game, every season, and then in 4 or 5 years, you look back and you kind of look at the big picture. So,
granted, if you get those 4 or 5 years,
well, are you trying to say something? Is that comment pointed toward me? I just want to know because I know here we're going to hear the two
contract. And depends on what contract they work under.
Well, you show progress, and you show progress from year to year, and the AD looks at it and say, "Hey, we want to move forward." We do. It depends
Carlos,
on the
tomorrow
benchmarks.
is not promised. We know tomorrow is not promised, Carlos.
Well, you said that. See,
I know some other folk that would have said that also.
Oh well. It's interesting.
Let me get Coach Dooley on speed dial.
Oh, come on. But Wheeler, that was a complicated matter. It wasn't just.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't just. It wasn't just on the field. It was some off the field situations as well.
Yeah, but Texas Southern is not the type to me now. I mean, just following TSU and what they do, and Dr. Cavill can chime in. They don't seem to be the type that just gonna quickly fire a coach after 2 years or so. I think they're gonna let the contract play the way it's gonna play. And look, they let the previous coach go, and the contract ran out. So I think they're gonna give Dishman the same courtesy. Mm-hmm. And I think you got to look at where Texas Southern is in the football pecking order. I mean, as we all know, they have been near the bottom of the barrel. So they have nowhere to go but up. And this is a good start to year one. Not to say they're going to, rise, but it's a good first year, good first step, good first start. So I think, just got to keep grinding.
Well, and before the show started, we were talking about all games matters. But if you use the definition of some on this panel, they defeated their arch rival. So just have that successful for the rest of the season. beating your arch rival. Alabama A&M and Alabama State. It's most important to win the Magic City Classic. But if I'm a Southern alum, am I just happy with winning the Bayou Classic? No. It's important, but it's not the end all. The end all is winning a championship, getting to Atlanta. That's the goal every year. Now, it's just me speaking as a Southern University alum. But Aussie Clark last week hit it nicely. All games matter. So I said all of that to say this. I believe Texas Southern alum, and I don't know him well. I know Dr. Cavill. Yes, sir. All games matter. They're happy to defeat Prairie View, but there are more benchmarks to accomplish. So don't hand me this stuff about, well, it just only matters. You know what? I look at the Magic City Classic, Charles, and you've talked to fans that said that's the most important thing on the season. I want to hear
State and A&M fans. Yeah, I have.
I want to hear from them. Is that true what Charles Edmond states, Coach Pettaway? Is that and if that is, that tells me something about the fans, not necessarily the players. Go ahead, Coach Pettaway.
I just think that's a small minority that think that way. I think the rest of them, they want you to do something in the regular season, and they're looking for a conference championship. Yeah, they want you to win the Magic City Classic, but they want more. We want more.
But my question, and Coach Pettaway knows this better than me. I'm sure he knows Dr. Bryan and his thinking. If Cornell Manor, I mean, they lost to Magic City last year, they win it this year, they get hot, they still got some games to go. They got Southern coming to Huntsville. I don't know what the situation is there, but when you look at that and you add the Magic City win to that cauldron, does that push him over the hump to continue on, or do you look back and say, you lost the game last year to Magic City, a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, didn't win that game, fans not happy in Huntsville. So how much do these rivalry games help a coach's situation in terms of contract or not, and getting them to the finish line or moving on or not? That's something I've always wanted to know, because the Bayou Classic's important, Alcorn Jackson's important, but they're all important. All games matter, but you do hear about these rivalry games though.
There's some immediate gratification, I think, when you beat your rival, that lasts probably maybe 2 or 3 days for the most part. But I think at the end of the day, you can't keep losing to your rivals on a yearly basis. It could become the final nail in the coffin for you. Not the first nail, but it could be the last nail if it's happening on a yearly basis. And I look at A&T and North Carolina Central, and Central dropped like 66 points on them a few weeks ago, and the coach from A&T said something about it's just another game. And but obviously he was not aware, of the significance of that game. And I mean, you talking about putting him over a grill and a spit and rolling him around. I mean, geez, but obviously, I guess nobody informed him in terms of the importance, of that particular game. So I mean, like you said, Charles, all games do matter. Your rival games mean a little more. And, so while in Maynard's case, it won't be the final nail in the coffin, but it could help the pallbearers start getting warmed up a little bit at the end of the day.
Well, let me flip it and then we'll get in the timeout. In a 4 or 5 year period, you defeat your rival, but you don't have any conference championships. Of those 4 seasons, 3 are losing seasons, but you defeat your arch rival.
Yeah.
How do you think fans and alumni and administration is going to feel about that? That's why I still stick and go back to hashtag all games matter.
You're probably gonna be on your way out.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
But for those who say, well, the most important game that matters is that Magic City Classic, that Soul Bowl, that Value Classic, but you hadn't done squat diddly after that. So that's why, and I look at take it in the big picture. All games matter, and you should win. Quickly, Swag Now says, Carlos, do you think Southern University played TSU Light and was looking forward to the Alcorn game? No. Look at the previous year's games. Texas Southern defeated Southern. So I don't think they were looking ahead. Just my opinion. That game has been typical of what you've seen all year. They fall behind. They get off to a slow start. And then in the second half, fourth quarter, they come back and win the football game. I just don't think Southern can take anybody lightly at this point. Nobody. You got to win the week. You got to come out and try to improve every game. But no, answer your question. They didn't take Texas Southern lightly.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Texas Southern has played Southern tough, and they were up to the challenge as well. Again, overdue for a timeout. Don't forget Coach Farasi Norman. He'll join us in hour number 2. We'll come back. More of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mister, this script got a plot twist at a Radisson Hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true.
Gotta get the corners.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. In light of what we were saying, all games matter, we want to kind of promote something here. All Game Matters shirts, and it, of course, was inspired by Aussie Clock and the new Black College Sports Network merchandise store. And we also would like businesses to take part into this to help promote Black College Sports Network. So, as you see, our wonderful producer, Melly Mel, is putting up All Games Matters. You have different type of T-shirts, different sizes. And I, Coach Pettaway, will buy some of those T-shirts. And we're encouraging everybody on the Black College Sports Network.
Carlos, we ought to all get one and coordinate on one of the shows.
Hey, I like that. I agree. I agree with that because all games do matter.
And you know what, Coach? They do. I'm serious, man. Just like, we got the Magic City Classic coming up next Saturday, but you got Southern coming to town. You got Grambling coming to town. You think our fans don't want our team to win those games? Yeah. They want to beat Alabama State because that's our rival, but they want to beat Southern. They want to beat everybody else that's on that schedule. From Mississippi Valley to Arkansas Pine Bluff, they want wins in those games. It's just that the Classic holds a look more meaning to them because it is the Magic City Classic and it is Alabama State. In fact, some of the people in the northern part of the state, they don't even mention their name. They just say that other school. There's real passion when it comes to beating Alabama State, but our fans still want them to beat Grambling. They still want them to beat Southern. They still want them to win those other games on that schedule. And in terms of some of these coaches losing their job, I think it's going to be based on their contract. Because I think if some of them got a heavy loaded contract, the school's not going to be able to afford to move them. They're going to have to eat it.
Well,
hey, Carlos, make sure that Melly Mel, the producer, also understand that all sizes matter.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yep.
Amen to that.
Hey,
I'm with you, Willa. I'm with you, brother.
I'm with you too.
I'm not ashamed to say, give me a 3X or 4X. I can wear either one. But you know what? Because we're diverse as a people.
Right.
Not everybody's 1X.
Yeah.
Not everybody's. It's a little bit of everything. Great point. And also, I want to challenge the listeners and who watches the show. Not only the Coles Brown Show, but all of our other shows on this great platform. Purchase those shirts. And hey, we're going to do that. We're going to, matter of fact, I'll try to buy a few more and maybe give some away. Yeah, hilarious. All sides are available. Yeah. And let me just say this also, not only because last week I kind of had an interaction with a couple of people at work, and then also in the grocery store. See, you never know who's listening and watching. This lady came up to me, and you were right, Carlos. All games matter. I want to beat Southeastern. I want to beat Nicholls State.
Yeah.
All of those schools. And I said, ma'am, I still go back, and I got to get it out of my mind. I still go back to that first game with McNeese. I mean, it was right there. They were who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. Never heard that before. So, yeah, from a competitive standpoint, start, play more of those games. And I meant it last week. I would have somebody, like I'm the AD, I would have one of those FCS schools on my schedule every year until we consistently start beating them. And at one point, years ago, they did. So that's my take. But, excuse me. Yeah. Purchase the shirts. All games matter. Right there at the Black College Sports Network. Gentlemen, yeah, I'm getting choked up about that. Excuse me. But as we go on, there's also another huge ball game, FAMU and Jackson State at 2:30 today. Charles, what do you think about that game?
It's a big game for Jackson State. Florida A&M, if you look at their schedule, I think they got 4 home games. I think they got to go to Prairie View. They got that A&M game that was rescheduled for November 29th.
Yeah.
I think for Jackson State, they're at the house, they're at the vet. They got to get this one. If they want to win, this is kind of like, during Dion when the game was in Miami. You get one shot at it, and whoever wins that shot wins the division. I think, if Jackson wants to win the division, they got to win this game. Because I don't think FAMU, if they lose, they're 2 back. I don't think FAMU is going to let it go. So this is a big game for Jackson State. They're at home. I would like to see 50,000 in the vet because I like to see big crowds. And so, by the way, I was on another platform, Carlos. They said that as of this morning, there's only like 700 tickets left for the game here today. So, your term hard sellout probably is going to be the case by the time we kick off. But I like to see a big crowd in Jackson. But I like FAMU. I like Richardson, their quarterback. If they don't turn the football over, they have 4 turnovers against Bama State. They can't have that and expect to beat Jackson. But I think FAMU, I got them winning this game in Jackson. It's going to be tough. It's going to be close, but I got FAMU.
Yeah, and Wheeler, do you think that Jackson State don't have what it takes to defend their home court? I mean, field?
I think they do, Coach. I think they do. I think it's time for TC to get up from under the shadow of Deion Sanders. And this is that game for him, I believe. And, it's time. You at home. You can't ask for a better environment. This is where you want it to be. One of your top rivals, or, you're battling for supremacy on the east side of town. And, you got them at home. You can't ask for more than this right here.
Right.
So this is it. It's important for TC to get this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think with Jackson State playing at home, this is a must win for them if they got any hopes of winning the East. They got to have this game. They got to have it. I think it's a must win for Jackson State. And I think Carlos is okay. Go ahead, Carlos.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Me and Charles was talking yesterday. And FAMU, if they're able to get this game today, they kind of have the easier path. Because we're saying it's a Saturday showdown, and that's correct. But there's still more conference games to be played. FAMU has 4 home games. And by the way, they have the longest winning streak in FCS without losing a game at home.
Yeah.
Jackson State has a lot to prove. They're a very good ball club. And then you look at Southern and Alcorn State. Now, Southern has to go on the road to FAMU.
Alabama A&M.
Yeah, and Southern, to my point earlier, they can't overlook anybody. So it's 1 week at a time. But the FAMU and Jackson State, looking at the stats, FAMU, believe it or not, Jackson State is the better offensive team according to the stats, conference only, than FAMU. But FAMU's defense is very solid. Jackson State playing at home. I always give the extra points to the team playing at home in this case. And we'll kind of get into our predictions in hour number 2. But, I'm ready to make a prediction now. But I'll go by the script, get it, and do it in hour number 2. But tremendous games today. But it's not the here-all. This super showdown Saturday in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. More games to be played.
Yeah, there are a lot of landmines for 3 of the 4 teams playing today. A lot of landmines in front of the Braves. We're off next week. We play Alabama State, 176 miles from their campus in Mobile, the Port City Classic. That's going to be a 2-year deal, by the way, so we'll be going back next year and playing them. down there. It's our home game, but we're getting some money, Wheeler Brown, out of that to move the game to Mobile.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Where's my whistle?
That's important. That's important.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yep. And
Coach Pettaway.
Yes.
It seems like me and you more aligned with agreeing and Wheeler and Charles. Wait a minute. From the administrative standpoint, if you're still making what you would make at a home game, then I kind of see, but why? Well, I know Alcorn State is a more rule setting, but man,
let's be honest, Carlos.
Put that in Baton Rouge, and you move that game. Here I go in the past again, Charles. Remember, Jackson State and Southern game was moved. The business owner, legislators, everybody threatened them. You better not do that again.
Yeah.
But in essence, you are doubling up, Carlos. It's a 2-year deal, and that next year, theoretically, you wouldn't have been making any money at all because you would have been going on the road.
Right.
So you are coming out on top. Even though it may look like right now the dollars are the same.
Yeah. And I think, and let's just be real, and I hate to say it, but it's just reality. There's certain games that draw well at Spinks Castle Stadium and certain games that don't. Alabama State's one of those, and no disrespect to Alabama State fans. Our fans got a show, and we've talked about it on this show. You can't rely on the visiting team to fill up your stadium, and that's what's talked about this week on social media. FAMU Jackson State. How many FAMU fans are going to be there? I was told it ain't going to be many, but I think Jackson fans will make up the difference. I don't know whether FAMU's band's going to be there or not. I've read that back and forth. But, the Alabama State game, yes, it's our home game. You would love to play at the house. But if you're being offered $300,000, this year and next year to play,
gotta go.
I think you probably have to take that deal. As tough as it is to give up a home game, would you be making that at home? Would you be making that at home? Would you add up everything? I mean, let's be real. We are a conference that relies on rivalry games. We pack Mumford when it's Southern Alcorn, when it's Southern Jackson, when it's Southern Florida A&M. But when Southern plays Texas Southern, when Southern plays UAPB, you're going to have that same kind of crowd. Now, I know Southern wouldn't do it because they pretty much draw pretty well at Mumford. But for us, it's a little bit different. I would like to say that we have really great crowds at Spinks for every game, but unfortunately, that it's tough. So I think it was a good deal. We're going to get something out of it for 2 years in a row, and we just roll with it from there.
Well, I just hope to see
my only gripe is that if it cuts me down from 4 games to 3 home games, then I gotta kind of look at that aspect of it. But outside of that, if it cuts me down from 5 home games to 4 home games, I'm gone. I'm out.
We would have had 5 home games, Wheeler. That was our 5th, so we only have 4 now. But that would have been our 5th home game. So I think to your point, that's probably why we took that deal because of that.
That was a good move.
Okay, but now, Carlos, my question would be, can Mobile accommodate these games like that? I was just there with the Gulf Coast Classic, and those stands were not filled. The parking lot, the tailgate area, it wasn't overflowing. Now, it was a better crowd when we played Southern there. It was a better crowd when we played Tuskegee there. But against Jackson State in Mobile, those stands weren't even half filled, man. So where's all this money coming from? And now they're gonna bring Alabama State and Alcorn there. I don't know now.
To be honest with you, Coach Pettaway, I wouldn't care where the money came from as long as it came.
As long as the check cleared.
Well, I would say this year is unique because right now Alcorn's in first place.
Right.
And then I look at the fan base You know, what about them? I think you would have more people at home for this game at Alabama State. Look at because Alabama State pretty good defensively, still fighting in the East, but Alcorn's tied with Southern University. Well, technically in first place because they got one more win. This season, I think you will have a better crowd in Norman because of that situation. You know, but hey, they made the decision to do it.
We know hindsight's always 2020. The game was scheduled months and months ago, and you didn't know how things would kind of play out in terms of the standings. So I mean, you have to roll the dice. But we have pretty good alumni base in Montgomery, in Mobile, in Hattiesburg, on the coast. So I mean, in areas in and around Mobile, we have a pretty good alumni base. And if we win this game with a bye week next week, more people will probably show up down there for that game. It's on the coast. You know, you got some stuff to do down there, perhaps. So I think this game will help bolster the crowd if we can get this game here today. Our crowd, anyway.
Yeah. Well, definitely. If Alcorn comes in and wins tonight, then the bye week, I would contend you still would have a huge crowd at home.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's just also look at this point and we'll move on. You know, some fans can't maybe financially be able to travel, you know, out of the area to another area. Yeah, you get your money. You know, as Willa said, long as the check is clears and the guarantee is there, that's fine. But, you know, that's short term, but long term, just keep in mind the fan base. You know, you don't want to poke the fan base. Let's move on quickly. National letter of intent. The NCAA disbands it. I want to hear from Willa from an administrative standpoint and Coach Pettaway from a coaching perspective.
Okay, well, from a coach's perspective, I think it's a good move because that letter it didn't mean anything anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, after they changed to where the kids could transfer, that didn't mean anything anymore, Carlos. So I think the NCAA saw that, they saw the writing on the wall, and they just got rid of it, which is what the coaches were saying they should do a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's basically a contract, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You know, Wheeler, and also when you look at, I thought about cost of attendance, and you know, just talking to a few ads about that and how things are going to change. It'll still be a contract, but just in a different form.
And the only thing the letter did, Carlos, was to bind the kid to that particular institution at that particular time. You know, but as Coach Pettaway just said, you know, with the way things are now and kids changing schools like they're changing underwear, you know, it's not, it doesn't make any difference at all. You know, so I mean, it's something for the kid to put it in a frame and, you know, put it on a dresser, that sort of thing. Outside of that, that's all it was worth. Yeah. You know, so I mean, you know, coaches, some will probably agree with it, some will probably disagree with it. You know, but you know, like I said, it wasn't being enforced anyway. You know, not to where it made a difference. So, you know, just one less piece of paper. How many trees did we save because of we don't have to deal with this now. Yeah.
How many clicks on a computer?
Right. Yeah. And Willie, you're absolutely correct, because see, once they approved that transfer portal, that made that obsolete. Mm-hmm. You know that it wasn't binding anymore because you gave them the option of the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm. It's simply called free agency to me, and college athletics. And in light of the settlement that NCAA, the settlement with the student athletes, you know, they're going to be getting big money. Yeah, you're looking at it. It's college athletics is totally different than it was.
And plus, Carlos, I would never hold a kid that didn't want to stay. You know, I mean, if a kid, decided that he didn't want to stay in my program or he didn't want to be a part of my program for whatever reason, I would not hold that kid up. I would not enforce that letter of intent. I'd let him go. Go ahead. Probably better off without you in the long run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Aussie. He's tuning in. Give him credit. The hashtag all games matter. He says he's going to purchase one. But Charles,
we got to give Ossie Clark his props. He predicted Alcorn, and he's a Grambling grad, true and blue. He predicted Alcorn would beat Grambling last week. He was right on that one.
Yep.
Well, he knows the interworkings of that football team, and I looked at some of the social media, some of the articles, even in the Advocate after Grambling State defeated Jackson State. We are, and I say we are a lot of times so emotional. Crown them champions after they defeated Jackson State. Come on, they're in the lead in the West. That's why I say you win the week by week, and then look what happened.
Yeah.
Lost to Alcorn, lost to Prairie View.
Yep.
So again, consistency and balance, getting better every week, and the race is not won on one or two games per se. It's over a plethora of games, your conference games. So I was the one that was jumping on the bandwagon after Grambling State defeated Jackson State, because if we look at that game, Jackson State turns that ball over 5 times. Yep. That's the difference in that ball game.
I stopped singing the Grambling Ode, Carlos. I was singing the Grambling Ode. I had a singing contract with a record company, and then Grambling started losing some games, and I was fired right there on the spot. You're fired.
You and Aussie sung the Grambling alma mater right on this show.
And man, we got some deals coming, but then after Grambling started losing those 2 games, it's all over. Look, Mickey Joseph said it, man. He said after beating Jackson, he said we started smelling ourselves. He said it on the record. He said that, hey, I couldn't really get the team reeled in until maybe 2 or 3 days before that second game beyond. And so I think Grambling is still reeling. And look, I'm gonna say this as a Grambling night real quick. I can put my Grambling hat on for a second. Grambling got some work to do. As a Grambling night, I'm glad Alcorn won the game. Okay, so that's great. We're in contention. But as a Grambling night, I'm speaking for the black and gold. Mickey Joseph got some work to do. Crowley looked very pedestrian last week, but I think Alcorn's defense had a lot to do with it. We lit them up, we heated them up. But Mickey Joseph's got to come up with some stuff on that offensive side. And who's coaching that offensive side, Carlos?
Hey.
I'm beginning to wonder myself. Because I was looking for some imagination, some creativity, and Cedric Thomas said he got a catalog on there on Coach Dooley when he was at Southern, Grambling twice, and some stuff I was expecting to see, I just really didn't see.
Well, if you want to know, ask me, because I saw it, and expectations are that it's the offensive, guru, and things should be much better along offensively. That didn't happen.
No.
It didn't happen. So sometimes when you see things happen twice in different places, well, I'll just leave
Carlos,
it at that.
it takes time to turn that roster over too. Now,
that's what I just finished saying.
Come on now,
you gotta have
time to turn the roster over.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's talking about.
You gotta have the horses to run the race.
You got to. You
gotta have the horses to run the race. You can have a system. A coach can have a system, but if that coach does not get the players, the Jimmys and Joes to run that system, it's not gonna work.
Well, there's a reason. That's Mickey Joseph. That's Mickey Joseph's job.
There's a reason why the last regime is no longer there. And part of that reason had to have been that the roster wasn't where it needed to be, in order to spell continued success. So if you think that you're just going to replace the man at the top and then all of a sudden, poof, we all on all cylinders right here, right now, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So you got to give the man time to turn the roster over.
Yeah.
Hey,
you got to.
They can give Mickey Joseph 10 years. It's not going to bother me. But I'm just going to say, when you set yourself up, when you call yourself an offensive guru, that's all I'm saying.
Did he call it, or did you guys call it?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, Willa?
Did his fan base call him a guru, or was these his words coming out of his mouth that I am the offensive guru?
Two things can be true at the same time. How about that, Willer? Now,
I stand corrected.
I'm just saying, two things could be true at the same time.
I think when you look at Dooley in his past, what he did with Kincaid at Grambling, what he did at Prairie View, I think we all kind of drunk the Kool-Aid a little bit and like, Dooley knows offense. And then he goes from Prairie View to Southern University, and you're saying Dooley knows offense. But then things kind of bogged down and other stuff happened. He was let go, but still doesn't take away the fact that Dooley knows offense. Then he gets to Grambling, and you get one of the premier quarterbacks in the conference and Crowley, because that's all we talked about at Media Day was Crowley and the quarterback position. And look, the Alcorn game was very average. They did score a ton of points. Texas, whatever that Texas team they played, Jackson State, but they look very pedestrian. So I think Mickey Joseph says he's going to get more involved in the play calling. We'll see if that translates into something today, because they got UAPB on homecoming. They better get it done today, or else Grambling Knights, Ossie Clark, Charles Edmond's going to have a problem, because I think they should win the game, but it ain't going to be easy. Higgins and that offense got it going. They beat Prairie View on a Friday night, and I think UAPB's coming slowly but surely. Grambling better be ready, and that offense better be ready.
Well, I'm going to say hold the brakes. This is almost another scenario. After Grambling defeated Jackson State, UAPB, they're improving, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's pump the brakes. because offensively, they're building something special. But last time I looked, defense and special teams is also important. So let me just pump the brakes a little bit on UAPB. Now, three or 4 weeks from now, if they've gotten a couple of victories in there, then I would say, wow, they're getting things done. But consistency. We're going to take a break. Coach Farasi Norman is backstage. He's waiting to join us. I want to get his thoughts on all what we've talked about so far in this show. And then we'll span the SWAC. Some big games, of course. Get his thoughts on that. Get predictions. Look at last week's games. And toward the end of the show, Coach Pettaway, I've been communicating with Pat Riley. The NBA is getting ready to start another season. WNBA trying to crown the champion. It's only preseason, right? But some things are starting to reveal themselves so early.
Yep.
We'll take a timeout. Coach Farasi Norman joins us next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Boy, you gotta love the ambiance. Oh, yep. The passion. Oh, going to a HBCU football game. You get more than just a football game. Our next guest, and I did a little Google search, but I first came across Coach Norman, Black College Sports Network, Sports Wrap with A.D. Drew and Brian Fulford. Coach Norman is from Albuquerque, New Mexico. He attended Scottsdale Community College. He played football and ran track. Transferred to Langston University, so he has an HBCU experience as a student athlete. Also, he has, from the academic side, 3 degrees, AA in general studies, a BA and an MA in secondary education. He's done a little bit of all, everything. He is a true person of a student athlete. For the first time on the Coles Brown Show, we bring up Coach Farasi Norman. Coach, good morning, good afternoon.
Hello.
There he goes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir.
You can hear me? Hey, thank you for this opportunity, Carlos. Really. Hey, I feel like this, man. I feel like the Jeffersons. I'm moving on up. When I got the invitation yesterday to come to the Carlos Brown Show, I'm like, Faraz, you moving up, bro. You going to the Carlos Brown Show, and then to be able to share the same panel with the guys right here, with Coach Pettaway, Charles, and Mr. Wheeler. Hey, fellas, thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. I'm just trying to join the team. I'm an HBCU graduate, but I'm trying to get in so I can continue education and help young men figure out this thing called life. Because as you know, we as black men, we don't all have it right together. A lot of us don't have fathers at homes. Moms can only do so much. So I'm not trying to be nobody's dad or uncle or nothing like that. I'm just trying to be Coach Norman. But I'm trying to do what you guys have done, continue the legacy, Hey, I feel like today, and it's the honest truth, I feel like I'm getting better showing the panel with you guys. Thank you. And Carlos Brown, brother, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited right now. Really, I am.
That's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for the kind words. Because you know what it is when you look at it. We talk about sports, but it is beyond sports, life, being productive, doing well, and then at the end of your time here, you reach back, or before the end of time, reach back and help others to bring them up. And so we appreciate you coming on. This segment, Coach Norman, we call it Spanning the Swag. We kind of look at the big games in the conference, the Southwestern Athletic Conference specifically, and we look back at last week's games. But you've been watching the show. Before we get into that, kind of your thoughts. One of the things where all games matter, you know, and Aussie Clark, I guess last week he kind of brought it home with that. You know, you have to win your conference games. We know that. But how important do you believe that it is to be successful in your non-conference games as well?
As an HBCU, we have let me see, how can I put this without being derogatory? We have to stand up for ourselves. We can't just lay down. We can't get pushed around. We can't just take a check. We can't just say, okay, we just made $700,000-800,000, but let's go out there and we're not going to play our starters. We're going to play 2s and 3s. We don't want to get nobody hurt because what are we doing? What are we saying? I remember when I was younger and I would go down the street and my grandma said, you better not run back home, you know, because I was small. I wasn't always a nice size, you know, stocky kid. I was a little frail kid. And, you know, I grew up in Dallas, Texas before I moved to Albuquerque. And it was always some physical altercation. Let's be real about it. You know, young boys like Billy Goats, they button heads. And so that's what I'm trying to say to us as a football conferences. We got to stop laying down for some of these schools. I've been shaking my head. Some people say, well, what would you do differently? And I would say, well, it starts with the head coach. The beginning of that week, you have to let your guys know how important this is. We have to make history. We have to let it be known. And together as a group, whoever's in that locker room, players, coaches, trainers, water boys, whoever, it's us versus them. Okay, we can't be nice. We got to go up there and we got to throw everything we can. Lefts, rights, kicks, roundhouses. We got to do everything right because we stay together for 4 quarters. We know who we are. We stay together for 4 quarters. And we look up at the end of that game and the clock is 0-0-0. We're victorious, no matter what it says. If it says 37-38, we still won because we left everything on the field. But don't lay down in the first quarter. Don't lay down in the first quarter and then just say, well, we got to check. And because let's be real about it. How much money do we really get? And then it's integrity. Because when you come to recruit me, I'm in high school and I'm going to say Norman University. And you come in and you say, hey, Norman, we want you to come to Norman University. And I'm like, Coach, didn't I see you guys get like mollywop 77-0? Or didn't I see you guys get beat like 50-6 at halftime? I mean, what makes me want to come to your school? But if I see you out there fighting, I see you out there fighting for it, like, wow, Coach, that was a good game. And Coach, like, you the missing piece. I'm like, I'm the missing piece? You the missing piece? Now I'm thinking about coming to your school. But we have to give a young man an opportunity. We have to give a young man an opportunity to say, I want to go there. And that's how you change that outcome there. We've beaten PWIs in the past, you know, with some of the great coaches that we've had. So now what we as the new coaches, the new era have to do, we have to pick up that baton and we have to continue to run with it. These guys are much better than we are. You know, scholarship-wise, you know, we got 85, they got 85. I hear a lot of people talking about nutrition and weight room. Come on, really? Come on, really? You know, you can get big and strong if you want to. At Langston, we had a weight room about the size of a bathroom, but we had some of the biggest guys I still can remember to this day because we got in there and we made a determination to get bigger, faster, stronger. And as far as eating goes, yeah, I mean, as a young kid, you can try to diet yourself, but I don't eat that stuff anymore. But I love McDonald's, Burger King. Now I'm more of a Subway, Quiznos type guy, you know, and I ate the stuff in the cafeteria. So I get kind of disappointed when people say, or their nutrition is better, or their weight room is better. No, it's about that coach and how he's coaching his team. We got to stop laying down for these guys. We can beat these guys. We really can. We can beat these guys if we just want to. We have to want to beat them. Starts there. Then the coach has to coach us. And he has to coach his team. And when fourth quarter come up and it's 23-21, you don't smile just yet. You keep punching. You keep punching. You get that 2-point conversion. You get that field goal, or you score that touchdown. Then you can smile and say, I said this. For example, look what happened at the Notre Dame game with Northern Illinois. That was a black coach. And first thing, when he was sitting there crying, he says, I told my team all week long, if we stay together, we can win. I stood up in my house and said, that's what we need to do. I told my team all week long, if we stay together, we can beat this. I was so, even though they're not HBCUs, I was so proud of that brother because he's saying the same thing I'm saying to his team. If we stay together, we can do this.
Right. It goes, Coach Norman, it goes back to respect all, fear none.
Yes, sir.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
You respect them, but you don't fear them. You put your best foot forward. And like you said, at the end, when that clock goes to 0, if you have given your all, then you are a winner.
Yes, sir.
And specifically, you've heard me talk about when Southern plays McNeese State. They haven't defeated them. They played several times. It's a winnable game. But then some of the fan base is like, well, we don't need to play those games. I beg to differ. They're in FCS. You recruit against them. You go out and you compete. And then we have to consistently start winning these games. But that's just my opinion, Coach, and the panel. All those games matter, and
I agree.
You got to start. And I've seen Southern legendary coach Pete Richardson. I told the story last week. The first game they played against Northwestern State in the Superdome, I was telling my best friend, if they're close to the full court, anything could happen. Mm-hmm. Southern went out there and laid the wood to them. They left no doubt. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Also, you brought up the point, playing, we've talked about money games and guarantees. I won't rehash that. But against our FCS, I say Will is laughing. Against our FCS opponents, we've got to, in my opinion, play them and have success.
I agree.
Yep.
So, with that being said, guys, let me pull up my spanning the SWAC in the conference. Coach Norman,
yes, sir.
So what you've seen in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, top 3 teams, how would you rank them? No matter what division, the top 3 teams.
Okay, well, who are the top 3 teams? Because everybody may have a different poll. Who are you talking about?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Who are my top 3 teams?
Yeah,
okay, my top 3 teams would be FAMU, Jackson State, and Southern. Those would be the top 3 teams right now.
I agree with FAMU. I agree with Jackson State. I love Southern University. I don't know if I would put them 3rd right now. Charles, you look like why are you looking that way, Charles?
Coach Norman, why would you put Southern 3rd? What do you see in Southern number 3?
Got offensive line. I'm an O-line guy. They got a big offensive line. They're not really taking advantage of it. But I'm thinking that if they decide to run that football the way they can be much better than what they're doing. They got a good defense. They got a lot of size, talent, and speed over there. I see Southern. I see them right there. They're like knocking on the door, but no one's opened it yet. But they're knocking on the door, and that's why I put them at number 3. Now, nothing against your university, coach. Alcorn's doing pretty well, but I think Alcorn has I don't really think they're taking advantage of what they have. They got a nice size line. They're not just like the huge, but they're not small. I think they just found them a quarterback. I think they got 2-star receivers. So I think they still got a week or 2 before I can try to make a juggle. But right now, as my top 3 in the SWAC, I would have to go FAM, Jackson, and Southern. Well, the FAM and Jackson may change after today because that's going to be a huge one. I'm calling that pre-celebration bowl. That's going to be a huge one. But I'm going with Southern because of the offensive line. If that quenches your 3rd, I'm going Southern because of that offensive line.
Well, they've made some changes the last couple of weeks, and they have improved, especially from the running standpoint. Willa, to you.
Yeah.
Who would be your top 3?
My top 3 right now would be Jackson State 1, FAMU 2, and you could flip a coin at the 3rd spot between Alcorn, Southern, and probably a host of others. But I think today's slate of games will make this path a little clearer. I like Southern. I like Alcorn. And I think for me, the winner of today's game will slide into that third slot.
Yep.
And I think after that, you can pretty much flip a coin on everybody else.
Yes, sir.
You know, everybody else will beat everybody else on, you know, any given day, that sort of thing. And but I just think those 4 schools, not those 3, are pretty much the class of the league right now.
It seems like the 3rd spot is kind of is up for grabs. You know, if Alabama State offensively were doing a little bit better, you know, their name would be put up there. But it's just an opinion. The top 3. Last week in the conference, of course, they had a Friday night game. Arkansas Pine Bluff over Prairie View, 21-17. It was Alcorn State over Grambling State, 17-15. Alabama A&M. I don't know if Alabama A&M has found some more offense or Bethune-Cookman is that bad, but Alabama A&M over Bethune-Cookman, 56-12, and of course, Southern over TSU, 22-19.
Bethune is bad.
Yes,
Bethune is bad.
I was waiting for somebody to say it. I
can't
was
give
going
our
to jump
dogs
on
no
that
credit, huh? We finally settled on one quarterback. You can't give us no credit.
Well, no, I'm just trying to think, Coach Pettaway. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna come back with 2 things could be correct at the same time. But you know why I don't want to say I'm picking on Bethune-Cookman, but you know, a lot of times people are champions. They look good before fall camp starts. Then when fall camp starts, everybody is 0-0, right, before they go into the season. Panel, I heard that Bethune-Cookman was a program that, you know, watch out for them this season. They were going to be pretty, make a lot of improvement. But as we now at the midway point of the season, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that at all. And why is the case? Is it offensively not getting things done, defensively, special teams, or did some of us drink the Kool-Aid a little bit too early, thinking that Bethune-Cookman was a team to watch them this year?
Well, Carlos, I think.
And I think it was the Kool-Aid.
I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, just for the record, but okay.
If you ask me. And the program was in dire straits prior to the coach getting there. You know, then the Ed Reed debacle didn't help things any, you know, and the guy who they wound up hiring, you know, he's coming in late in the process, that sort of thing. I don't know how anybody realistically could have said that Bethune is going to be in the thick of things early on. You know, these are just people that, you know, hey, they're in Florida, they're going to get some good kids, you know, la-di-da, so forth and so on. You know, all the myths that go into, you know, Florida football came into play. And, you know, I think the expectations were just unrealistic.
But Will, now also for this past week now, those kids had to leave from the state of Florida early now. They were on the road since Tuesday to play a Saturday game, you know, because of the hurricane and that kind of thing. So I think being displaced, I think that had an effect on how they played last Saturday. So I think we have to take that into account. But the overall picture, prior to that game, they've been in some of these games now. They've been in some of these games. They fought in some of these games. They just didn't have it Saturday. And I think a lot of that had to do with those kids being displaced.
Coach, you got an opportunity to stay in a hotel almost for a whole week. You eating out
without your girlfriend. Go ahead. Without your girlfriend. Go ahead.
From a kid's point of view, you in hog heaven.
But it does say something to that though, because that's not the first time Bethune-Cookman has been displaced. A couple of years ago, Terry Sims his last year, and I thought he would be given another year.
Right.
Just because of the fact they were spent 3 weeks away from home. And you know, just 16, 17, 18-year-olds, that their minds are all over the place. And so I think that with that, I think it's going to be tough for Bethune-Cookman the rest of the year. I mean, I saw the pictures of the damage that their campus suffered. And so you don't know what the mindsets are with that. I mean, yeah, you're gonna pick up the pieces and move on, but it's really, I think it's hard to do. And so I think for the rest of the season, I think it's gonna be tough for Bethune-Cookman. And again, when I talked to their coach at Media Day, and I think he was saying all the right things, but I think if he was being brutally honest, he would say, look, we got a long way to go. I'm just trying to get this thing off the ground as best as I can. Talk with me in another year or two, and let's see how this looks. But he didn't want to come out and say it's going to be a brutal year. It's going to be tough. He didn't say that. He couldn't. But I think his body language told me that it's going to be a challenge this year. And so I think it's just come to fruition. Then you add the hurricane and the stuff that they've had to deal with, that compounds the problems.
Well, and not to discount that, because that is a horrible situation, because there is life after football. For young kids, they go to school, then they practice, projects, homework, and all of that. But I go back to a few years ago, Bethune-Cookman displaced from a hurricane. Southern University opened their facilities to them. And guess what? Guess what they did? They defeated Southeastern University. Maybe the mindset of those kids were different back then, but to go and accomplish that at that time, that's tremendous. Also, if we go by recruiting prognosticators, Bethune-Cookman has one of the top HBCU recruiting classes this past class. So I guess the future is bright. Maybe we'll look back 3 or 4 years, not 2, Wheeler, not 2, Coach Pettaway, not 2 years, Charles, and we'll have a better gauge of Bethune-Cookman. But as of now, albeit I know they've had some tough situations, they are not a good football team. Before the hurricane, they were not a good football team. Can they get better? Yes. Yeah. But Coach Norman, that's the way I see it now. With Bethune-Cookman, they've been getting gashed pretty good in those games. Now, we'll move on to the big games this week in the conference. You want to start, Coach Norman, with FAMU and Jackson State? That's about 2:30 ESPNU. Who do you like in that ball game?
Oh, man, it's going to be a good one. Okay, it's not going to be a blowout. I got my score being 31-28 FAMU. Now, that can change if TC coaches his team the way I saw him coach a couple weeks ago when they just looked real good, offense, defense, special teams. If he does not do that, it's going to be the biggest game he's coached in so far since he's had that head coach title. So if he comes out and he stutters a little bit, then I think FAMU's going to take advantage of that. I think FAMU understands what's at stake here. If they knock these guys off, they pretty much got it in the bag. I'm not saying that they're not going to play the rest of the season, but I think they know, and hopefully Coach Cozy, I don't know him, but I'm pretty sure he's told his team, we knock these guys off, fellas. We got this. And so I think that's their mindset coming to the vet. Now, like you said earlier, I heard you say, home field advantage. They're going to have that crowd there. They're going to have that band there. They're playing at home. And I think that if TC can tell his boys, fellas, we can make history. Like I always preach history, Mike. We can make history. They are still the defending national champions of HBCU level. We can beat them here at our house. So I'm thinking it's going to be a good game. I don't see a blowout. I don't see a 50-0 or 47-6, something like that. I got 31-28, 27-24, somewhere in that 3-point range. I really, really do.
Yeah.
So you like FAMU?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Charles?
For me, I mean, I agree with Coach Norman. I'm one of those, I believe in going with the defending champs until somebody knocks them off. And, so I got Florida A&M, they were off last week. And so Jackson was off too. But I just think Florida A&M's got it going right now. That quarterback Richardson is making plays. The one thing, though, that worries me about Florida A&M against Alabama State, they had 4 turnovers. You got away with that on the road because Alabama State offensively couldn't cash in. But Jackson State's got an offense that'll cash in. So if they cut down on the turnovers, then I think, it could be a little bit dicey. But, for me, Jackson State at home last year, they lost 2 games. They lost to Alcorn at home, and they lost their homecoming to Alabama State, if I'm not mistaken. So Jackson at home, they can be good, but they can be bad too. And so that's why I'm not giving as much push for Jackson being at home because recently they stumbled at home. So that's why I'm a part of the reason why I'm going with Florida A&M. I think they're just the better team, I think, at the quarterback position. I think that makes a difference. If they don't turn the football over, I think they will win the game. And I do think it'll be close regardless, though. So I'm going with Florida A&M, like Coach said, 31-28, 27-24. It's going to be a close game, one possession game, one score game.
Coach Pettaway and then Willow Brown. Your
prediction.
All right.
Well, I'm going with Jackson State. I think that Coach Taylor sees this as an opportunity to step out of the shadows of Coach Sanders, and this will be his shot at it. He feels, I think he feels that if he can win this game, he will be in the driver's seat. And I'm going to put my money on Jackson State. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going with Jackson State.
Willer?
Excuse me. I'm going with Jackson State also. I think FAMU has bitten the bullet in quite a few games this season that they've won. I mean, some would say that that's a good thing, because they came out with the victory in spite of that sort of thing. I kind of look at it as maybe there's some chinks in the armor somewhere. I look at Jackson State being at home, and as Coach Pettaway said, I look at TC finally stepping out of Deion Sanders' shadow and, proving to the world that, he's a quality coach also. And I just think it's Jackson State's time. They've bitten the bullet a lot, since Deion left. In terms of consistency, that sort of thing. Seems like it's just starting to get things together. And I think being at home today is going to be the difference. So I got them 21-17.
I've heard defending HBCU champs by the panel, correct? If I have my little board, offense advantage, I'm going to give it to Jackson State on the offensive side. Defensively, FAMU, very strong. I give the advantage to FAMU on defense. Special teams, evenly matched. Miscellaneous, intangibles. What would be one intangible, panel, that you would put a check mark to either side, FAMU or Jackson State? Would it be coaching? I mentioned about the home crowd. I always give them an edge with the crowd at home. Special teams. But let me get my prediction. Jackson State, I think, gets it done. And if they get it done, it'll be because offensively they got off to a fast start. And if Jackson State defense, which I said FAMU, I give the advantage to them. If defensively Jackson State can force some turnovers, And by the way, FAMU had some turnovers against Alabama State, but Alabama State defense is pretty doggone good. They just don't have any offense. So 3+ points at home, that's the difference. I like Jackson State at home. So what it seems, Jackson State gets the edge or FAMU? Maybe FAMU. Coach Norman, you had FAMU, Wheeler, Jackson State, Pettaway, Jackson State, and Charles FAMU, and I said Jackson State. So I think FAMU defense needs to stop JSU running passing game today. Thanks a lot, Mary. I would agree. Intangibles, turnovers. I can't disagree with that as well. Well, moving on. And pull it back up, Bethune-Cookman at Mississippi Valley State, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Boy, can Valley get the first win? Can they get the first win of the season against Bethune-Cookman? I'll start it off. Valley gets their first victory of the season. They get it done and their first conference win. I kept it simple and short to the point. Coach Norman, who do you like?
I got Mississippi Valley. The fact that they're at home, I'm going to go ahead and go with them. I'm not going to say a score. I don't see it being outrageous. I see it being close. But if I'm a betting man, I'm not. But if I was, I'm going to go with Valley.
Yep. All right. I'll go next. I'm with Mississippi Valley also. I think they're going to christen that field. They want to win on that field and on that new turf, and so I'm going with Valley.
So far, unanimous decision.
Yep. We just saw Valley a few weeks ago, and they kind of pushed us around early. They had some turnovers. Their new field turf looks nice. Video board looks nice. And they led Alabama State 14-0 early last week. So I think, one little chunk at a time. Coach Wade trying to get it figured out. They're at home. I got Valley winning this game.
That's it. Then Willer?
Bethune in the ugliest game of the year.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Bethune? Willer, if that happens, you have a bottle of champagne on it.
Bethune and a Yana. If you stands today, hope you got a pillow and some cover.
Well, but Willer, it might shock you. It might be an offensive explosion. At least up by one team. I think Valley's going to take out their frustration. Brian says Willer's going 0-2 already. All right.
No, I don't see that one. I don't see that.
So, we're in agreement, except for -1. Wheeler, after Phil Cookman, everybody else have Mississippi Valley State. UAPB at Grambling State. This is an interesting game. Charles has sounded the warning. Here comes the Golden Lions. They've got a great combo offensively, quarterback and wide receiver. Grambling State's hurting a little bit. Coach Mickey Joseph getting more involved in the offensive play calling. I'm not shocked about that. I'm not. Oh, and by the way, let me go to a text message. We appreciate people that are listening in and watching. He says, tell Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, the coaches need to adjust their schemes until they get their players. Dooley needs to change his scheme. When he gets the horses, he is still going to do everything east to west. You know what, Coach Norman? That means Coach Dooley loves the bubble screens, and he loves to go east and west. But I talked to a coach who coached in this conference, who's now coaching in high school. The quickest way still for a touchdown is north and south.
You are correct.
I'll say this. I understand the rationale behind what was just said. But you are who while you want to make some adjustments in terms of, adjusting to the players that you have, that sort of thing, from a coaching point of view, you are the coach that you are. Your system is your system, and it's probably going to take hell or high water in order for you to turn sugar or species into something that is not. So you want to be competitive while you continue to turn the roster over. But if you think that all of a sudden now you start running stuff that you just picked out of a hat, that sort of thing, and you're going to be successful, you're getting away from who you are and the basics of what you are, that's not going to be a recipe for success either. So time is going to be the deciding factor, for those schools who are in their first year coaching. You at the end of the day, you got to give them time to turn that roster over, to get it to where it's consistent on a yearly basis. Nothing is going to substitute for time. Period.
Well, can I say this? If I'm a new coach, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, when I get there and I make an assessment of what I have, wouldn't it be to your advantage to come up with a scheme based on the talent you have, albeit I know what I would like to run, and my assessment shows me I don't have that. I know I got to bring in a roster to be able to have that type of offense and identity that I want. But we live in the landscape now that you have to win and win quicker than, say, 10 years ago. So wouldn't Coach Norman, I would look at my personnel and devise a scheme that fits what I have right now until I can get a Ross in where I want to run what I really want to run.
I agree with everything you just said, Carlo. I agree. So let's get that part out of the way. But at the same time, nothing takes place of time. You got to give me time to get this job done. So I'm not saying that, if you're competitive in the early going, that's good. That's what I want. But I'm grading you on other aspects outside of the wins and losses. So if the discipline is there, if the kids are fundamentally sound, if they're fighting like hell each and every game, that sort of thing, if they're doing those things, then that shines positively on the head coach and what he's bringing to the table. So I got to give him some more leeway in terms of, when I see the roster being changed over, we should be continuing to get better. That's so. Meantime, we're fighting like hell. The kids are fundamentally sound. We're getting some things done, that sort of thing. So I'm relatively pleased with the result, even though score-wise we're not necessarily being successful at that time. So there's a ton of other things outside of W's and L's early on that you should be grading that coaching. That's all. I guess that's the gist of what I'm trying to get a hold of. But
give them time.
Come in and win that championship right away. And I always say that it's the kiss of death. The kiss of death for your boy, Dooley. It's the kiss of death when you come in and you win that championship your first year. Then you've told the world pretty much, that the old coach was the problem. I'm the cure, and this is what you can expect on a yearly basis. Or this is what they will expect on a yearly basis moving forward.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Albeit the climate in college sports now is you got to win quicker. But they should have more time. Coach Norman and Coach Pettaway, I want to hear your perspective.
Well, I agree with what Will is saying. Okay, Carlos, any coach that's worth a grain of salt, he's going to adjust to the personnel that he has. But if the personnel that you have, you can do all the adjusting you want. If that personnel is not up to par, you're still not going to win. You're not going to win. You can adjust your schemes to do what they do best, but their best may not be good enough because they lack the talent to be able to do that. And that's where you go back to the thing where we were saying you got to give them a chance to bring in their own players. They got to bring in the talent to run the type of system that they want to run or they think will be the best situation for that program. But most coaches, they're going to make the adjustment. You have to. If you're going to stay in this business for a long time, you got to adjust to the personnel that you have, but you better doggone sure make sure that the personnel that you got can get the job done. And that's your job as a coach to go out and get that. Get them.
Well, I'm going to give an example, maybe to the opposite view, but Coach Norman, what do you think?
I'm going to use me for an example, Carlos. I have a system, offense, defense, special teams, that I implement. So when I take over a team, I look who fits my system. First thing I look at is offensive line. If you're not 6'3", 300, then I got to go find 5, 6 guys that are 6'3", 300. Quarterback-wise, I like athletic quarterbacks. So if you're not an athlete, I don't look for the pocket passer. That guy doesn't help me. I need a guy who can run and throw. So if he's not there, I got to go find that. I like speed in my backfield. 4'6", 4'7" doesn't help me. If it's not there, I got to go find that. I like big, strong, physical guys on defense. I like guys who want to hit you. I like guys who take pride in hit you. If I don't have that, I got to go find that. And I spend that to the committee and my athletic director and the president when I'm coming through the door. So I tell everybody, year one, I may not win a whole bunch of games, but I can guarantee you by the end of the last game, you're going to look up and you're going to see a significant difference in the past 3 or 4 years. Year two, I'm going to bring you the conference. In year three, I'll bring you the overall title because I've adjusted. Now, I'm not a wishbone guy. I'm going to use that for example. If I'm running wishbone and I'm taking over a team that's running spread, that's going to take 3 or 4 years because now you have to go out and recruit totally different. I run a spread option, so I run and pass. So I can take whatever's there, but you got to give me what I'm looking for. And that goes back to what Coach Pettaway said. You got to go out there and recruit, and everything like that. But when you got an off season and you got the summer and you got a fall to find what you're looking for. Now, yeah, these days everybody wants to microwave because you've had a couple of coaches that's been real successful. Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, they've been able to turn around real quickly. But it usually takes a couple years. But I'm telling everybody, judge me on year one. At the end of year one, I promise you're going to say, wow, that looks so much better. At the end of year two, me being who I am, I'm going to bring you the conference. And at the end of year three, I'm going to bring you the championship title. That's me speaking right there.
Interesting concept.
Yep.
Charles, quick example. Coach Richardson comes in his first year. He has previously a team that was there the previous year. And if I'm not mistaken, they had a losing record. Some could say the talent was there. You've seen me reference that first game against Northwestern State. Coach Pete Richardson, first year, 11-1. With, I guess if you talk to some of the old timers, they would say the talent was there, but the discipline wasn't there. And he sets the bar that first season, 11-1. Expectations, have an outstanding first season. What do you think? Getting your perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, coming in, I just think in today's times we're just a little bit different in terms of you want to come in walking in and have your mindset. I mean, I look at Cedric Thomas coming in for Coach McNair being hired. I mean, that was the obvious hire once Coach McNair decided not to stick around and accept the contract deal. But I just think it's about winning. And unfortunately, Emmanuel Barnes says it all the time. It's not what have you done for me lately? It's what are you doing right now? And so we're in the now situation in athletics. You got to come in right away and you have to make an impression right away. Now, is it realistic? Probably not. But we do see situations like you talked about, like you referenced with Coach Richardson and even Coach Thomas. I mean, if we win this game, we control the West and we're right back to where we're used to be. But it takes time. And I understand it and I get it, but our fans don't exactly get it. And I get that too. And so you just have to balance out the success, look at the failures, and just say, hey, let's give it a little bit of time, let it marinate, and see what we can break apart and make this thing better.
And Carlos, I want to something that in the case of those schools who hired within, those guys had an opportunity to help shape and formulate those particular rosters that are there right now. So with Coach Graves, the other guy,
Coach Thomas,
talking about at Alcorn, all those schools that hired people that were on staff, the previous staff, they had an opportunity to help shape and mold the current rosters. So they have some familiarity with those kids. They have, they got some knowledge of what those kids bring to the table. Now, I'm going to hold them to kind of a different standard. In that case, I'm going to expect more gains than I would normally expect if a coach is just coming in off the street and everybody's foreign to him. You know, so you have to take all those things in my mind into consideration. You know, but there's no reason why a kid can't fight like hell each and every day, each and every practice. You know, that attitude comes from the coach. There's no reason why they should be having unnecessarily penalties and, you know, things of that nature. That discipline factor, that comes from the coach. You know, all those things that a coach should be implanting into that particular team outside of wins and losses, which will come. That's what I'm grading the coach on. So to me, you know, if you're undisciplined, you know, kids are not doing what they need to do. They're not going to class, that sort of thing. That's a reflection of what the coach brings to the table. To me, that's going to get you up out of here a little quicker than if you go 0-11 or what have you. You know, so we can find those things to, you know, to look at those kids and to measure progress. You know, but no reason why those things shouldn't be in place. And those things come directly from the head coach, regardless of whether or not I recruited a particular kid.
Well, if I'm the head coach, I'm the CEO, and all things I'm responsible for. Boy, if I had a press conference, it would be interesting. You know,
very.
When we
very
lose,
interesting.
When we lose, I'm taking all the bullets. You know, I'm saying I'm the CEO. We're off to a slow start again. And I'm going to hold myself responsible for that. I got to make sure we get some things done. Well, we have about 6 minutes left. Southern and Alcorn State. I was looking at some of the statistics. For those who like that, defensively, Southern is number 2 overall. Middle of the pack offensively. Alcorn, middle of the pack offensively. Defense in the top third. Special teams. I think Southern University, you can look at a slight advantage there. If it comes down to a field goal attempt, 1 second on the clock, Josh Griffin has a 50-yarder. He can very well hit one. He has the distance. Southern Alcorn State. Let me get the predictions quickly. Wheeler, who do you like in this ball game?
I think it's 2 teams that are evenly matched. So it's, for me, it's a toss-up. But I'm rooting for Coach Graves. And so I want to go with Southern. About 3.
Oh, it seems like it's always worth 3 points at home.
Tell Jeremiah in the chat room. I don't know if he can hear me or not. Maybe he can. But I'm repping my Coppin State Eagles jacket today. As opposed to my Jackson State jacket last week.
Oh, boy. You know, I didn't want to say nothing about it last week, and I did.
I've been to 6 HBCUs, and so I decided to spread the love around. So it'll be another HBCU. I haven't decided yet.
That's funny in the chat room. Coach Norman, who do you like? Southern Alcorn State in the ball game. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think you got both teams are equally matched, offense, defense, special teams. I think this game is really going to come down to coaching, you know, because once again, I think offensively they're evenly matched, defense, special teams. I just said that. I think this game comes down to coaching. I think whoever motivates and encourages their team for 4 quarters gets this game. It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be a close one. This is a 17-14, a 2020, a 2023 type game because they're evenly matched. So it's the coach. It's whoever that coach is that can get his guys together and say, okay, that last 2 minutes of the game, this is what we're doing to get through that last field goal, that last touchdown. I think that's who wins this game. So it's going to go down to coaching. And both coaches need this game. Both coaches need to prove that they're stable. They're in charge. Like you said, they're the CEO. They can run their programs. One guy was already there. Another guy took over for another guy at the end of the season. But this game is big for both coaches. This game comes down to coaches. So I can't really say, Carlos, who's going to win it. I'm just going to say it's going to be close. It's a 3-point deficit, that's for sure.
Coach Pettaway?
All right, my heart is with Coach Graves. I want Coach Graves to win this game, so I'm going with the Jags in a close one.
In a close one. Fans' perspective. Let me quickly do this. Every week I get it from the fans' perspective. It's all about now. Do the Jags take the next step and finally have a complete game in all three phases? Or will the offense again look like it's not capable of anything resembling championship football? Offense are recurring themes. Jag must start better and faster. Amen. Cannot be so predictable and end up against a talented but sometimes vulnerable Alcorn defense. Quarterback position must rise to the occasion, and offensive line continues to make improvements. Defense, everyone must be on the same page this week and be assignment sound. Alcorn quarterback Vaughn must stay in the pocket and force him to throw the ball vertically, which he's been inconsistent at best. Must stop the run. Overall, fan perception say it's homecoming on the Bluff. Jaguar Nation will be a huge plus in the game. If the Jags eliminate the costly turnovers and penalties after successful plays, I like the Jags' chances. Fans' perspective says Southern 20, Alcorn State 17. 2 minutes left. Charles, Alcorn, what do they look like they want to do in a couple of hours?
They want to start fast. They want to start fast. They want to start fast because the Jaguars have not started fast. And I think if we've seen games, the Lenore's Footman game in which he ran for 300 yards and the muck and the mire and all that, if the Braves can jump on this Jaguar team and let their defense go to work, this game may not even be close. I'm concerned about the fourth quarter because I just don't think Southern has the offense to be able to do it. Now, Southern's defense is pretty good, so that's a tall order. If this game is close in the fourth quarter, Southern has found ways to get it done. So I'm looking for the Braves to start fast offensively, run the football with Sewell, Xavier Vaughn. If he can get it going, that running game can get it going, I think Southern will wear down. But if not, if this game stays close, I'm concerned, and Southern will find a way like they've done the previous two conference games.
Wow. Won't even be close.
Won't even be close.
That might be bulletin board material. I'll just say this quickly. This game reminds me of the McNeese State. Clinton McDowell, Xavier Vaughn, same type of quarterbacks. Southern's defense is going to have a spy out for him. And the strong point of Alcorn State is rushing the football. Southern University, make Alcorn beat you throwing the football. If they can do that, then you live with the results. History says that it's going to be a close game. I think so as well. In the final say-so, it's homecoming. Southern's at home. All games matter. You're right. I like Southern this ball game, and I like it something like 20-17. Want to thank Melody, our producer, Coach Norman, everyone in the chat room. It's time for us to go. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Entourage, get me on the Bluff.
Me too.
See you, folks.
Thank you.